Hi there, and welcome to my video today. I am going to walk you through my process of creating a mixed media piece of art, and I'm just showing you some of the materials that I use along the way. I am using heavy paper, watercolor paper. It's about 140 pounds, and I'm also using satin medium to put down the papers. What you see here are jelly prints that I made on my jelly plate. And I'm actually making a whole book full of collage papers that you can use as well. So if you want to be notified about that, I'm going to put a little link up here in the corner and you can get on my mailing list. So going through this is a process of kind of just getting the papers first and figuring out basic color scheme that I'm interested in for the day. And I try not to get too caught up in it because I know that it changes as things progress. So these are all just kind of papers that I grabbed, and I'm loosely tearing them and putting them down on the paper. Again, I'm using the satin medium to adhere them to the paper, and I put a layer on the bottom underneath, and then I also put a layer on top so that any other medium I put on top of the paper won't absorb directly into the paper, but kind of sit on top. It protects the paper from getting really wonky, basically. So I'm just going through the process of fitting the papers to the page in a way that I like as the first layer. This is kind of a way into my project. I don't really think too much about how they're going down. The shapes always end up being very different and varied. So I just look at it as kind of a process of creating with serendipity. So as I rip, I know that they're not going to be perfect pieces. So this was kind of a bright black, and I knew in the back of my mind I was going to have to mute that a little, but I just really love the pattern of it. And just putting that layer of the satin medium on top. Also, I don't really aim to cover the entire page usually because I want to leave some room for paint and other ephemera, other kind of materials to put down. So that was fluorescent pink and Naples yellow that I'm showing. And I did mix them together to kind of make that rosy color. And I'm applying it with a watercolor brush that's a little more loose and floppy, which I like because it doesn't give exacting lines. So I'm just kind of flopping the paint around and bringing some water in to let it drip. And then here I am with this is one of my favorite ways to apply paint is with a palette knife. It's very, very non-exacting, so I have to kind of let go of how it shows up because you never know what it's going to look like, but it is fun. Now here is light olive green, and I'm just kind of adding a little bit of raw sienna to that to make it a little bit more of a deeper green, almost like an army green. And again, just using the palette knife to kind of move the paint around. This layer I wasn't too crazy about, so I kind of went back in with a paintbrush and lightened it up a little bit. I just wanted the lines to be a little softer. I didn't love the edges that the knife was giving for the green. So just kind of having fun, moving everything around, not getting too attached to any one area of it, because then I end up getting a little precious about it. We don't want to do that. So this is a very unique color. It's like off-white, but it's also pink. It's called Naples Yellow Red Light. And I'm just using it with a makeup sponge I'm using a stencil and a makeup sponge to apply it. Just kind of giving a little pattern to the top and add a little more interest to the piece. And I'm doing it again on the other side, but this time I'm using a little Naples yellow with that light color, just kind of lightening it up a little bit. So this is kind of the middle of the process, and a lot of times I'll feel like, ooh, what am I doing? But I think part of the process is going through that messy middle and just keep going. So I know that everyone kind of tries to figure out, like, when are you done? And I think it's very personal. You figure out what marks you like, what colors you like, what patterns you like, and then eventually it does kind of feel done. So I'm using a Posca paint pen to kind of mute out that black pattern in the corner just so it doesn't take over the whole piece. Because right now my eyes just constantly go right there. So I wanted to kind of give it a little space to breathe. And that is an off-white color. It's not actually titanium white. So as you can see, that kind of pushed the paper into the background, which I like better. And here is a piece of a jelly print that I made on my plate, and I used a stencil, and it's on some deli paper. I love using deli paper for my jelly prints because they are a bit translucent. You could see what's underneath, but it still gives you a little pattern on top. And then here is my focal point. It is basically a little bouquet of flowers with feathers coming out on top. And I recognized that you couldn't totally see everything. I didn't want it to be like so obvious that it was in the middle, but I wanted to give it a little bit of a background to sit on. So I did use that light Naples pink color. And then I'm just putting it down with some of the satin medium. And I did put a fixative on this when I printed it, just so that it wouldn't run so much. But I felt like something was really missing, so I wanted to put a little border around it. And this is one that I made off camera. I was just kind of playing around with the shape of the square using the Signo gel pen. It's a gold color, kind of gives a little shimmer, but I didn't really like it. So then I kind of went back in with my Posca paint pen. This is apricot color. And I did another kind of circular oval on my deli paper, and I like that better. So we can get a little tricky putting a circular shape down using the medium, but I just kind of take my time and gently put a little medium down and tack it down lightly so that it lays flat. If you don't have it just right, it can kind of get wrinkly and a little wonky, but if you just take your time, it's pretty easy. And then I do put a layer on top just so it sits and gets a little more translucent, as you can see. And then this one little piece on the side was bothering me, so I got a little piece of a jelly print that I made of a similar color. So here it is, all the little details. You can kind of see where I went in with a little pen and did some marks. And then the centerpiece. Thanks so much for joining me today, and here are some other videos that might interest you, and I hope to see you again soon.